Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Attack On show. I'm Rob E. and today I am super excited because we have a very special guest in studio. I got to go check out his place last time, had him come in the studio this time. Everybody, this is the writer, creator, director of Aladdin 3477, Matt Busch. So welcome.
What's up? Thanks for having me out.
Yeah, man. Welcome to Attack On Show Studio.
So oh my gosh, it's so cool to be here. Look at this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. This is we were chatting before the show. Obviously we're here because Aladdin 3477, you've been making some huge waves recently. It's been great to watch because I got to talk to you about 3 years ago, we were saying.
Yeah.
And then COVID came.
Yeah, it was right before COVID.
Yeah, and that kind of put a pause on everything. And I wanted to talk to you because it's been great to see the push, but I was real curious. Did COVID kind of change your process? Did that kind of interrupt a timeline that you had originally, or how did that affect you?
Not really. I really lucked out with the whole timing of that. That was during a time that I was really just kind of doing the final editing and visual effects. I know there's no way to say like it was perfect timing for a pandemic to happen.
Thank God for COVID.
And shake the world. But honestly, it couldn't have. There's no way to say it to make it sound good, but it couldn't have happened at a better time than when it did.
No, it's interesting, and it makes perfect sense because I think a lot of people, when they had a finished product at that time, were getting really excited to release. You really couldn't, and you had hype build up, and it really interrupted a lot of people's plans. So yeah, I understand completely how it could have actually benefited because it let you just kind of, I feel like, duck back and just go to work, right?
Yeah.
No, and, for people who aren't familiar with Aladdin 3477, which I don't think there's many left out there because you've been smashing it on the promo, which I love. But why don't you fill everybody in on what the story is about?
Yeah.
And it's a trilogy, which I do want to preference for you.
So what it is, it's actually a trilogy of feature films, of independent films. And it's essentially the story of Aladdin, but it's set 1,500 years in the future. So it's epic. It's set in Asia, but it kind of looks like Star Wars, feels like Indiana Jones, but this trilogy is epic in scale like Lord of the Rings.
No.
And the first one comes out this year.
This year?
Yeah.
Do you have like a time frame this year? Because it's January, so is it gonna be like December 31st, or are we summer?
It's all TBD right now, but for sure there will be some screenings there will be some personal screenings this summer through the Kickstarter, but there will be some screenings this summer, I'm sure, in theaters. There may be a small theatrical run. I'm not, what I tell everyone is I'm aiming for the moon. That way, if I miss, I land among the stars.
I like it. I think we could tell you're aiming for the moon. This is such a huge task to take on. I mean, you're starting with a trilogy. There's heavy visual effects in this. And I gotta say, like the trailer you just released, I was blown away by the trailer, and that was already getting a sneak peek a couple years ago. You showed me some footage in the awesome Matt Busch theater, which that's still up for grabs on Kickstarter, correct? Or is that the one that sold out?
Well, the executive producer version sold out, but there is an add-on where you can still, and those are running out too, but you can still see it before anyone else. With me in my home theater.
It is a fantastic theater. That you can't put a price on it. So when I saw that price, that was pretty awesome because you have a sweet theater. I'm envious of it. And it'd be a great place to check out the movies. Yeah. But the Kickstarter here, I mean, what was your original goal when you started the Kickstarter?
The original goal was $10,000, and we hit that in 8 hours. Then in 3 days, we doubled it. In a week, we tripled it. And then about a week ago, we quadrupled it.
Wow.
So yeah, it's very, very exciting.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's been so cool. The thing that's neat for me is for my whole career, most of what people have been into is the Star Wars and the Indiana Jones, the Stranger Things, all of the stuff that I've been fortunate enough to work on, but I don't own. So if I do a painting of Boba Fett and people are like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. Like, of course it feels good, that's great, but I didn't actually create Boba Fett. So there's that,
Yeah.
But now that I've got my own project, it was tough while we were filming these because I didn't want to show too much too soon. If I ever, like on Facebook, if I share a scribble of Darth Vader on a napkin, I'll get like 700 likes in a half hour. But then if I shared like, here's a costume from Aladdin 3477, it would be like cricket, 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 cricket. Like no one knew, no one cared. And even when I announced that I was making this trilogy of Aladdin movies years and years and years ago, no one was excited. No, not a single person was like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to see Matt Busch do. Like, forget all this Star Wars stuff. I want to see him direct some Aladdin movies. Like, no one wanted that. No one asked for that. But now that it's kind of out there and people are seeing it, the response has been amazing. I was fully prepared for it to still be crickets, and just be this thing that I find rewarding, even if no one else really cares, So I was fully prepared for that. But to see people excited and that there was all this hype around it, it feels really good.
It's gotta be overwhelming. Yeah, I mean, it's heartwarming to see it grow so quickly and become so popular. And I have always been curious. What made you hone in on Aladdin and to make it in 3477? Like, why not like Brave Little Toaster 3477?
Yeah.
What was it that had you tie into that story? What does that story mean to you, and why you wanted to come up with this style?
That's a great question. So originally, way back in the day when I was in college, I wanted to create my own epic sci-fi saga. So my goal, and I'm very, very lucky, I'm very grateful for working for George Lucas, but the dream was always to become George Lucas and not the mogul business person, but to be able to have a story or a universe that I've created where I can, like kind of my own sandbox to play in. So I started developing it over the course of a couple years when I was in college. Then I had this project. There was this magazine called Fan Magazine. I don't know if you remember that from back. It was like Wizard Magazine, but it was called Fan Magazine. And I did this illustration for that where it was a full-page Aladdin illustration of Disney's Aladdin. While I was working on that, it occurred to me, oh no, the main kind of central character dynamics between Aladdin and Jasmine, and kind of like the fact that there's a sultan and kind of like this inner thing. And then like I had this intergalactic con artist. A lot of people probably wouldn't have seen it, but I saw the connection, and there's nothing new under the sun, but I was just like, my story is just like Aladdin. And like, it really took the wind out of my sails. So over time, it kind of occurred to me that Aladdin is public domain. So anyone can make their own Aladdin, anyone can make their own Beauty and the Beast. And I still wasn't it wasn't an overnight thing because I didn't have a genie, I didn't have a lamp, and I wasn't really interested in that aspect of it. But over time, it just kind of like, it went from less interesting to more interesting, and I almost saw it as a challenge. So anyway, eventually, that's just kind of what it became. The whole thing with 3477 is a funny story because I knew I wanted it to be Aladdin and then a year. And it was actually inspired by, I don't know if you remember, in the 80s, Marvel Comics did this 2099 series. So when I was a kid, I really liked Spider-Man 2099.
I was going to say, that's going to be really well known with the new Spider-Verse coming out because he's the main character in it. So, So
that was kind of what, but I needed a year. Well, I'm an honorary member of the 501st Legion of Stormtroopers. So I had to pick a TK number, and I couldn't think of a good 4-digit number. So because my name is Matt, M-A-T-T, I took the letters of my name and I turned the letters sideways. So if you take an M and you turn it sideways, it looks like a 3.
Yeah.
An A looks like a 4, and then T's kind of look like 7s, you know? So my TK number, I actually have it tattooed on my arm here. It's TK3477. So kind of as a joke, when I started writing this, and I always meant for it to change, I just started calling it Aladdin 3477, thinking full well I'll find a better year. So as I was writing it, though, I was like, man, I need to come up with this so I would be like Aladdin 2386. I'm like, nah, it doesn't have a good ring to it. But for some reason, Aladdin 3477, I really like the sound of it. So
I love it. I love like personal connection to you, and I've been really curious about that. So that's fantastic. I love that I see it now.
Well, here's the other crazy thing. Truth be told, in the year 3477, it's actually the 1,500th anniversary of the first Star Wars film.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And in the film, it's not a huge
Did you know
part
this
of the story.
beforehand? Or?
No,
okay.
I didn't realize it until I think we were filming, and then I was like, you know what, I got to put something in the background. So you will see something in the first film that kind of makes reference to the fact that it's celebrating the 1,500th anniversary of Star Wars.
That's very cool. Yeah. And then when this gets really popular, and then in the year 3477, people will watch this movie and be like disappointed because some of the cool robots and designs that you came up with didn't really happen, like the hoverboard didn't happen. Yeah. But yeah, it
happened already.
It'll be interesting. But I guess, I mean, you've obviously, when you started writing this from the very beginning, I mean, did you have the idea that it was going to be a trilogy, or was this just kind of a story that just kind of kept growing and growing?
No, well, what happened is I wrote, it was just going to be one film, and I wrote the most epic story that I could. And I wrote it in screenplay format, which usually is 1 page of screenplay equals a minute of film is kind of the thing. But it's a little bit different in sci-fi, and it's a little bit different in action, because when you write an action scene, a lot of times you're just writing kind of a paragraph of the bullet points of what happens. Well, a paragraph is only like 15 seconds, but an action scene could be a couple minutes.
Right.
So things get a little bit wonky there. And then also for sci-fi, it's not that you want to slow things down with explaining the universe, but unlike something that takes place modern day, if you have a film where if there's 2 characters like us in a basement and we say, hey, let's go over to Greg's house, we can just cut to Greg's house and show us walking in. You don't need to show us getting in the car. You don't need to show how the door opens. You don't need to see the key in the ignition. But if this is a sci-fi movie, we can't just say, hey, let's go to Greg's house, because people want to know, how did you get there? That thing flies. Right. How do you get in it?
Yeah.
Well, how do they start it? Well, who drives? Who pilots
lift?
It?
Yeah.
Right. So, and again, you don't want to slow things down with that, but just by the simple fact that it's sci-fi, things are going to take longer, because you need to explain the world. You need to, and hopefully you can do it within the storytelling so that it's interesting and you're not just like pressing pause, but it takes longer. Anyway, that's my long way of saying, right from the get-go, right from the very first scene, it was only 3/4 of a page, which means it would have been 45 seconds. But the very first scene that we filmed, I edited it as tight as I possibly could, and it was like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So already I was like, okay, my math is really wrong here, because this is, and then the more we filmed, the more it was like, yeah, this is, I mean, I could have made this 4 or 5 films, to be honest. But in the first film, the first rough cut was 2 hours and 45 minutes. No one wants to see a 3-hour Aladdin movie, myself included. I don't want to see a 3-hour Aladdin movie. So now the final running time is 1 hour and 59 minutes.
Wow.
So 46 minutes of it trimmed down. And it's fast, man.
Yeah.
It's a pulse pounding adventure. It's cool. So, and it worked out that way. The way that I wrote the story, it was a 3-act story that I think works well. It's not 3 movies where each movie ends with like a complete ending, kind of like Star Wars does, or Indiana Jones does. It's more like Lord of the Rings, where it's not like total cliffhanger. It does have some finality.
But there's still a lingering story.
But yeah, there's definitely a bigger story arc between the 3 films.
You storyboarded the heck out of this thing.
I did.
So did that help the process with the everybody along the way?
Absolutely. And I storyboarded every single shot of the films, and it did make things go way, way quicker. That was definitely an advantage that I had. so that on the day of, everyone from the actors to the first AD to director of photography, anyone, even someone doing lighting, I had everything rendered out ahead of time. Because when you don't have storyboards, as a director, you're kind of doing this a lot, and so I want this, and then we're going to have a light going like this, and you guys are going to go there. Well, no one knows what this is breakdancing.
And that's what I was going to ask, but then I remembered the storyboard books that you showed.
So they were, it was very, very helpful doing that, and it was hours and hours and hours and hours of my time, but when it came to being on set, when you're paying for people to eat and paying for people's time and everything like that, it just saved so much time. Having my little storyboard Bible.
Yeah, and your artistic skills, I imagine, helped with that very well.
A little bit, yeah.
What were some of the biggest challenges, I guess? I mean, because had you made any films prior to this?
I made a film called Conjure, which is a supernatural thriller. I don't recommend. It was very experimental, so I don't. You've seen it, haven't you?
We did. I think we talked off camera about it when I was at your place. So yeah, I do remember this though. Yeah.
Anyway. The thing that was really difficult about this, because these films take place not only on the other side of the world, they take place 1,500 years in the future. So this was not like, most people when they make independent films, whether it's like a mob movie or a romantic comedy or a horror film or something like that, not that there's anything wrong with that, it's amazing, but a lot of times the benefit that they have is, okay, whose living room can we film in?
Yes.
And then an actor says, what do I wear? Just jeans and a t-shirt. Oh wait, you guys are going to a funeral. Do you have black? Okay, cool, that's good. We need does anyone have a pickup truck? I got a pickup truck, cool, we'll use that.
Yeah.
We could never do that. Every single costume either had to be made from scratch, or we had to either hire someone else to make it, or we had to purchase it if it was something ornate that existed that we could get. Mm-hmm. Every single set we had to build. Every time there was a vehicle, we had to build miniatures or we had to build a life-size cockpit. We had to make all of that. It wasn't, we could never just say, hey, I got a Ford Tempo, cool, we'll use that. I mean, we couldn't do that for anything. And everything had to be futuristic and interesting. So even things like doors, we couldn't go to a flea market and just get a door and put it on hinges and build a set. We had to find a way to, it's in the future, so doors have to go and pull up like that. So we've got people pulling things so doors rise and it made it really fun, but it was also just an incredible, incredible amount of work.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine the undertaking with this, especially starting to see some of this footage roll out. I mean, when's the last time you slept? Had to have been a little while.
Yeah, I've mastered the art of not sleeping, for sure.
Sleeping with my eyes open, still working. So as far as, what do you think the most challenging part has been to get to this point now? I mean, I feel like you've had some major hurdles, and I'm real curious with a sizable project like this. What do you think was the most challenging?
I think one of the things I really have to give props to my cast and crew, because they've been so patient. But I know for them it was a struggle, because we live in a day and an age now where anyone that's creative, whether they're an artist or a musician or a filmmaker, they have the ability to make content in an afternoon, whether they do a drawing, whether they do a little ditty on their guitar, or whether they film a TikTok video. You press a button, it goes out to the world, and instantly people are giving likes, people are giving hearts. So for this project to go this long, there were so many times where, actors or crew, they would want to share pictures of stuff. And I would say, you can't do that. That's not until the third movie, or that's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Or maybe it isn't even a spoiler, but I'm just not ready for people to see that yet, because if you show it now, when I do my big splash, which is now what I'm doing, if everyone had already seen everything, then it wouldn't be as exciting right now. People would be like, oh, I remember seeing that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
No,
you know what I mean? It's got to be fresh. It's got to be new. So my cast and crew, I know there were times where they were really frustrated because they were excited about it, but it just, it's not easy in today's day and age working on something with a larger plan in sight, and having that kind of patience. You know, everyone wants it out now.
It's that instant gratification. Yeah, like you said, it's click and share, and it's on the internet immediately, and it is amazing. And that's a giant task for you. And I credit because you obviously had the scripts all written, and then you filmed all 3 movies at once. I mean, and did you have that idea from any other film? Like, was it the Matrix approach that they filmed, I think, the 2 sequels together?
Lord of the Rings. They did all 3. You know, it wasn't really that, although those films helped me justify it in my mind. But I had written the story. There really wasn't any changes. That was the story that I had written. But imagine if someone wrote Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi as one film, and then realized, like, once they start filming, I don't think there's a way to do this in one film. There's no, I mean, it just could. There's no way it could have been done, and maybe that was my bad planning. I don't know what it was. It just wasn't the plan. But I think it's the way that it was supposed to be, and I'm super stoked. I can't wait for people to see it. And the first film is fantastic. And I can't wait.
How excited are you? That's like putting your baby out to the world. I mean, this is going to be pretty. Are you excited to sit in like a theater with people and watch the reactions, or do you think?
So excited.
No, not nervous. More excited.
More excited.
Yeah.
More excited. Yeah. People are. And I think part of it too is already I can tell from the trailer what the feedback is. Like if you like the movie trailer, if you like the energy of it, the way that it feels, you're gonna love these films, because that's exactly what they feel like.
The trailer came out, was it 3 days ago? Or was it a week
ago? The trailer came out last week, so it's been like 10 days. Maybe?
10 days, and this thing's already over 500,000 views.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's like 2/3 of a million views right now.
And this is like word of mouth spreading, and I mean, it's just gaining momentum. And it seems like every day is just getting more and more. Yeah. Like it's not slowing down, and that's so impressive, man. And I'm so excited for you because, like I said, we've been talking for years about this, and it's really great to see these things coming out. And I'm just really excited. And I want to plug the Kickstarter because we're still raising money for this, correct?
Yeah.
And there's some fantastic prizes. Why don't you fill everybody in on this awesome Kickstarter?
So what the Kickstarter is, if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, it's not charity. It's not where you're just throwing money at us for no reason. It's almost like you're purchasing the product ahead of time. So you're making a pledge, and there's all these different rewards tiers, and for these rewards tiers, you get rewards. So there are books, there are movie posters signed by cast and crew, there's toys. I actually brought some of the little toys here. These are some of the prototypes.
I'm too nervous to touch them.
So, you can touch them. So this is the Fidgy, this is Aladdin's robot sidekick. And this is the standard version. There's actually 6 of these, and there are 6 different like paint jobs.
Okay.
And they're these collectible designer toys, and they are just so much fun, so cool. And these you get in some of the different rewards packages. Then there's like these block figures. They're like Lego minifigs, and this is our Aladdin, and he comes with a gun and a little satchel, and he's got a tracking light. And then this is the Hong Kong Trooper, which you can have these 2 guys fight each other. This, by the way, comes in the first rewards package this spring. So these are coming out right away. And this Hong Kong Trooper is amazing because it's got so much armor. It's got gauntlets on the wrist. It's got these leg pieces you snap on. It's got the shoulders and kind of this torso armor. You put one of the guns on the back, and then it's got the gun here. And then, look at this.
What?
The front opens, and you can see the Hong Kong Trooper face on the inside there. I don't know if you can see that.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so it's
the detail. And so you designed all of these as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, they look like Lego minifigs, but yeah. And this is the Princess Kamala figure. She comes with a laser taser and this little hologram display of the, it's like the Taj Mahal blueprints. Yeah. So all kinds of things, all kinds of rewards. These are some of the cards that you'll get. They're like promo cards. So this is Lo Chan Shyamalan. This is Aladdin.
Fans are going nuts
is
right
Princess
now.
Kamala.
The live audience.
And then this is Fiji. Fiji
Yes.
floats, well, usually he floats like that.
The one who floats. No, and I love Fiji's design. I love the boombox.
Yeah, you and your stupid Radiohead robot.
Hey, I like to recycle.
I do want to let everybody know that we do have the links below to the trailer.
Oh, yes.
The Kickstarter link is
Yes.
below as well, so make sure you guys check those out. We can't let you go yet because since you're in Attack on Show Studio, we have to put you through the Attacker Challenge.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was going to happen.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's happening. So
Okay.
we're going to get that going next. It's the Attacker Challenge, and these questions are pretty challenging. But we can't let you go. So I really wanted, obviously, we had to talk Aladdin 3477, but you are a Star Wars fan, probably the only person I know that might know more than me when it comes to Star Wars. So
boy.
I had to kind of put these questions more in the Star Wars era. So maybe we
Okay.
can spawn some Star Wars conversation with it. So if you get them all right, you'll be known that you'll be a Jedi Knight. If you get one wrong, you'll be able to be on the council, but they won't see you as a Jedi Knight. So you get where we're going with this?
Yeah.
So we'll kick things off with the first one. And
So if I get them all wrong, does it mean I'm a Sith? What
you're,
does that mean?
man, I think that might make you Jar Jar. Well,
Jeez. All right.
let's see. So I'm really curious of your opinion of this. When it comes to Star Wars, which is better, the prequels or the sequels?
The prequels.
The prequels.
Yeah, the prequels are better than the sequels.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I agree. That one's right. That's the right answer. So what is it that you like more about the prequels over the sequels? Other than the obvious, I'm real curious as far as the prequels, how they stand with you.
I like the prequels. I mean, obviously, the original trilogy is the one that I like the best. I think for me, and it's easier to talk about what I don't like as much about the sequels. Maybe is what it is.
Yeah.
I
Why don't you like the sequels?
I actually did like The Force Awakens, and yeah, it's a rehash of the first Star Wars film. I get it. I did like The Force Awakens. I was not a fan of The Last Jedi. Which was number 8.
Right, The Rise of
And I was mostly, and different people don't like it for different reasons or love it for different reasons. I felt that just in general, it was the way they handled Luke Skywalker was just not. It just was completely out of character for Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Completely erased everything that the original trilogy stands for, and. Like, I thought it was cool that in The Force Awakens that Han Solo was kind of a deadbeat, kind of loser, down on his luck. Like, that kind of made sense, but then when they did the exact same thing for Luke Skywalker, I was like, that's just... that
was frustrating.
I couldn't buy that. So then, The Rise of Skywalker was not that great, but I feel like compared to the damage that was done in number 8, I feel like... I thought 9 was actually better than I was expecting it to be.
It tried to do everything it could.
Yeah, which is maybe not saying much, but so I think they just made a huge mistake in not planning it overall, and Rian Johnson, who I think is a great filmmaker, I think just came in and just ransacked the whole thing just to ransack it without really thinking about how it all works within the whole saga.
Yeah, and the whole process. We might dive into that later on this, so I won't dive too much into it now because I'm sure people are curious about the other questions here. Who do you think wore it better, Jango Fett or Boba Fett?
Boba Fett.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What is it about Boba Fett? Now, are we talking, I want to make sure we're clear about this, Boba Fett in the Star Wars movies or Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett with the black pants?
Both.
Really?
Both. Boba Fett kills it because he's more, is it called couture, where people do their own like patches and their own stitching and their own paint jobs and their own bling, their own sequins and stuff like that, where Jango Fett is just so manufactured and Jango Fett's cool, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Boba Fett just marches to the beat of his own drum and 0 F's given.
Yes. No, something about the green and the red, I think.
Yeah.
Just pops. Now, how did you feel when in Mandalorian they gave it a fresh paint job? Were you one of the ones that like there were a lot of people upset about that?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it was a little out of place, and I think part of Boba Fett's charm for me is how dented the helmet is and all that stuff. I thought was really cool, but I don't think it bothered me as much as it bothered it. To me, I'm all about story, so it's I think it's kind of weird if you're like following a story and you're like, what? That person painted their helmet nice?
I'm done.
What? I walk. That's
Boba
it.
Fett's dead to me. I actually I thought with the fresh paint job actually popped. Like, I actually thought it looked cool, and then I was surprised to see how many people were upset, where it was like, at some point, you're going to want to touch your gear out.
The thing that I thought was going to be neat about it was once he was all painted up, that they would have really cool continuity for all the new dings and dents and everything, and you would keep track of them as the story progressed. So I thought that was kind of cool.
But then I think it's kind of brushed already when Book of Boba Fett came out. Almost like they toned it down, and
enough fans complained that they
I think they kind of switched it for that. But maybe that's what took away from a good story. I'm liking you're heading towards Jedi Knight, but don't get too excited. We don't want to turn to the dark side. Next one here. Which ship would you rather pilot? The Millennium Falcon or Eagle 5 from Spaceballs? Winnebago. It's a tough one.
Well, like, give me some context. What's the, like, to keep forever or just for giggles?
It doesn't. I would say a test drive. You get to take one for a ride, but you only get one ride.
It's still the Falcon.
The Falcon?
It's still the Falcon, yeah.
That ship is so cool.
Yeah.
Do you ever see how it was made? Like, have you watched the Industrial Light and Magic documentary on Disney Plus?
Yes.
Or it's literally the guy saw 2 plates in his sink, and he was like, I'll take that and just added the angle, like he had something else and added, but it is a simple design when you look at it. It's a circle at its base, and then they just add it, but it's such a cool ship.
Yeah.
So you're doing really well. I'm really proud of you. Let's see here. Which role do you prefer for Harrison Ford, Han Solo or Indiana Jones?
Indiana Jones.
Really?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, first of all, everyone knows that Harrison Ford likes playing Indiana Jones and hates playing Han Solo. So that alone, like, it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of Han Solo, knowing that Harrison Ford is like just hating every minute of it.
Can you kill me already?
Right, exactly. And I think, to be fair, I think Indiana Jones is just a much more, as much as I love Han Solo, Indiana Jones is just a lot more three-dimensional and just a lot more interesting, and he gets to run wild with it. The films are all about him, where Han Solo is more of an ensemble within this grand universe of Jedi and Sith and aliens and everything else, where the Indiana Jones movies, if you take out Harrison, or if you take out Indiana Jones, you don't really have anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I always felt, too, Indy was more consistent. Like, Han Solo, to me, and you have him introduced as kind of this shrewd person in New Hope, and I know part of it's character growth, but Empire, he was so sarcastic and funny, and then we kind of lose that in Jedi.
Yeah.
He has a couple marks in Jedi where he makes like a funny comment, but it was so heavy in Empire, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But that was really the peak of it, and I was always kind of curious as to I was always confused by the shift of that character so much, and Indy's just consistent all the way through. He's just it's
really
great.
is.
I love it. What's your favorite Indy? I'm curious.
Well, the best one is Raiders of the Lost Ark, but my personal favorite is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom, the dark
Doom's
one.
My favorite. Well, of course. Yeah, the stakes are the highest, and you have short round.
Yes.
And it takes place in India.
And congrats on him. He's like cleaning up the awards.
No,
it's so great to see him back.
It's the triumphant return of Ki-Hugh Kwan. It's great.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
All right, 2 to go.
Okay.
You're batting 1,000 right now. This is fantastic. Let's see. Who gets the girl? Captain Kirk or Captain Lando Calrissian? We'll say young Captain Kirk.
What do you mean? What do you mean by gets the girl? Like who actually does get the girl, or who should get the girl?
Who do you think, if they're both chasing after the same girl?
Oh, okay. Well, when you put it that way, I'm going Lando.
Okay, yes. That's how I meant. My apologies. I did not phrase the question appropriately.
I don't know.
No, both of them. No, Kirk. He definitely racked up the counts through the years of the series and movies. But no, Lando's smooth.
Oh, he's so great.
All right, this is your final question. You're on the council. We just gotta see if we're gonna deem you a Jedi Knight.
Okay.
And this one, if you ever watch Attack on Show, I think you'll know how we lean on this, but I'm just really curious of your opinion. Kathleen Kennedy, extend her contract or fire her?
I would let her go quietly.
Go quietly, yeah. No, okay. Yeah. I'm on the same page. I've been not a fan since she took over, so I was curious of your thoughts on that. Do you think what would be your biggest point on as far as a mishandling, or what do you think would contribute to that opinion most?
I think there's a lot, but I think especially early on, I think she, assuming this is all her, because there's so many people behind the scenes, you don't know how much was actually her and how much is other people stepping in, but it just seemed like she was throwing projects left and right without really thinking about them. And in the case of the sequel trilogy, just handing the movies to directors without any plan of how the story was going to be. You're going to write this one. As soon as you're finished, hand it to this person. As soon as you're finished, hand it to, like, that's a horrible way to write stories. Doesn't matter how good the writers are, if there's no connection from the beginning how this story is going to be told. It's it's as silly as one of those games that people play where one person says a sentence and then the next person continues and the next person continues and there's your story. I mean, that's essentially what they did. So there was a lot of misfires and a lot of green lighting things that shouldn't have been green lit, red lighting things that were doing okay. I mean, it's just, it was...
The Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That was my first... sign of not wanting her running, is that was like her first move, was ending the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And it was so highly rated on Cartoon Network. But then, you see the trilogy play out, and that was almost like, that was the final nail in the coffin for me very early on of you have a trilogy coming out and you don't have an overall story arc for a 3-part story, and you just fumble. It was an awful fumble. Like, that took away how many years of waiting to see the original core group together, and we will never get that. And that's something I think is a huge mistake, unfortunately.
Yeah, that would have been so magical. That would have been so cool.
Well, congratulations. You are on the Jedi Council. You are a Jedi Knight, and for that, we have a very special prize for you.
No
You hooked me up all this cool stuff. You get your Attack on Show
gosh, I love
t-shirt.
it. Dude, I am going to wear this too. I love it. That's amazing.
Yes.
What?
Awesome.
I love it.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come over to Attack on Show.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to follow the progress of Aladdin 3477.
Thank you.
I will be sharing like crazy any updates that you put out on our sites, doing whatever I can to help get the word out. Although I don't think you need it, because you're crushing media everywhere.
Thank you.
It's very successful. But one last time, I want you to let everybody know where can they follow you, because I also want to plug your website, because you have some amazing art out there that we touched on before.
So it's mattbusch.com, spelled like the beer, not like the shrub. Of course, Aladdin 3477. Aladdin has 2 Ds. And then, just check me out on YouTube. I'm on Instagram, all that fun stuff. And check out the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is live until the last day is March 3rd.
Okay.
And we're going out with a bang. There's so many cool rewards that you can get. And the way that it's set up, there are swag boxes that come 4 times throughout this year. So this is like, I know it's 2023, but it's the year of 3477. And in the spring, summer, fall, and then the winter, you're going to get swag boxes of really cool things. It's kind of like Loot Crate, but even more stuff, way better. I actually, in researching this, I subscribe to Loot Crate. Okay. And I'm actually not too impressed with it. So this is going to be better than Loot Crate, and just some really, really cool rewards. So definitely check it out. because it's ending soon.
Awesome. We got all the links below to make it easy on you. Want to thank everybody for watching, Matt. Thank you again for coming here. As always, I'm Robbie, and Matt, do you want to tell them the name of the show?
You're watching Attack on Show.